In this video series, we're going to create a custom scrollbar widget in Python Tkinter. So if you look over here to the right here, we have our scrollbar here, and it works just like the Tkinter standard scrollbar. But the scrollbar consists of two parts. We have the track here and the thumb right here. So in the first part of the series, we're going to focus on creating the track. So you're going to want to open up a new .py file that's dedicated to just your scrollbar code. And so we're going to use the canvas widget to draw the scrollbar. So we're going to import it into the file. So we'll do from Tkinter import canvas. Next, we're going to create the scrollbar class and have it inherit from the canvas. So class scrollbar canvas. Okay. Then in the init, we're going to have it take a parent parameter, an orient parameter, which is vertical by default, and the keyword arguments. So we'll do define init, pass in self, parent, orientation, which is going to be vertical by default, and then keyword arguments right here. Okay. Now inside the init, we're going to create a dictionary that stores some default options for the scrollbar. So we'll do self.options equals to an empty dictionary. And then we'll also go ahead and give it a background key and a color value, which will serve as the track's default value. So do background. Now do a hex color here. Let's see, we'll do that. After that, we'll do a thickness key with a value of 12, which determines how large the scrollbar is. So we'll do thickness and set that equal to 12. Okay. After that, we're going to update the options dictionary using the keyword arguments. This allows you to pass in a background color for the scrollbar when initializing it if you don't like the default color. So down here, we'll do self.options.update quarks. Okay. Now we're going to store the orientation parameter as an attribute so that we can reference that later on. So now we'll do self.orientation is equal to orientation. Okay. Then based off of the widget's orientation, we're going to use the thickness to set either the scrollbar's width or height. It'll be the scrollbar's width if vertical and its height if horizontal. So we're going to start this off with an if statement. So if orientation is equal to vertical, size arguments equal to a dictionary with a width. That's not a dictionary. Width with the value of self.options thickness. Now we have to do the same for the horizontal orientation with else, size arguments, height is self.options thickness. So remember that the scrollbar inherits from Tkinter's canvas class, so we have to use super init for it to have access to the canvas's attributes and methods. So down here we're going to do call super init right here. Okay. So in the super init, we pass in the parent and the background color. So parent background is equal to self.options background. And then by default, the canvas has a white border around it, so we have to pass in highlight thickness and set it equal to 0 to prevent that from showing. So we do highlight thickness, if I can spell it, thickness is equal to 0. Okay. And now finally, we set either the width or the height based on the scrollbar's orientation. So we'll do size args like that. So with Tkinter standard widgets, you can change their options by using the .config method. We're going to allow the same thing with the custom scrollbar by creating a config method and updating the scrollbar's options. So down here, we do define config, pass in self and keyword arguments. And the first thing we're going to do is self.options.update and pass in the keyword arguments. So if you're changing the scroll bar's background color, we'll have to update it. And in order to do that, we'll do if background in keyword arguments. We'll do self.configure background is equal to self.options background. Okay. And if you're changing the scroll bar's thickness, we have to update the width or the height. So we'll do if thickness is in the keyword arguments, and then if self.orientation is equal to vertical, we have to do self.config width is equal to self.options thickness, and then we'll do else self.config height is equal to self.options thickness. Okay. Create a test file that looks like this and place it in the same directory as your scroll bar file. So the first thing we're going to do is import the scroll bar at the top. So we'll do import scroll bar like that. And then we'll initialize and display the scroll bar similar to how you would with Tkinter standard widgets. So underneath root here, we'll do sb is equal to scrollbar. And then we're going to pass in the root as its parent. Now we have to display it. We'll display it with the path method. We'll do fill is equal to y, and side is equal to right. We'll also create a horizontal scroll bar by passing in an orientation parameter and setting it to horizontal. So we'll do scrollbar1 is equal to scrollbar. Make the root its parent, but this time we're going to set the orientation to horizontal. Okay. Now again, we have to display it with the pack method, and we'll do fill is equal to x. Fill is equal to x, and we'll do side is equal to bottom. Okay. So now let's run this code and see what we get here. Alrighty, so it may be a little hard to see, but if you look up here to the right, we have our vertical scroll bar, the track here, and then down here at the bottom we have the horizontal. Down here at the bottom we have the horizontal scroll bar. Okay. So let's change the vertical track's color and thickness by passing in a background color and a thickness. So underneath root here, we'll do background is equal to light blue. And then underneath that, we'll do thickness and set it to 20, okay? And now let's do the same for the horizontal scroll bar, but we're going to do things a little bit differently, okay? So to change the horizontal scroll bar's color and thickness, we're going to use the config method instead. So we'll do scrollbar1.config, and we'll do background equal to light pink, and then we'll do thickness is equal to 20 as well. All right, so now let's save and run that. Oh, I forgot something here. Bottom, where's that at? Oh, accidentally deleted that part. Okay, so now let's run it. So as you can see, the vertical scroll bar is now light blue and it's a little bit bigger, and then the horizontal one is pink. Probably also notice that the horizontal track's thickness hasn't changed, and that's because of how Tkinter's geometry managers, the pack, grid, and place work. So if you try to change the scroll bar's thickness by using the config method, it won't work. So make sure you pass in the thickness when initializing the scroll bar. So we're going to go ahead and fix that right now. So instead of putting thickness or passing thickness into the config method, we'll do thickness is equal to 20 up here. Okay. All right, and so now as you can see, everything is fixed now. So in the next video, we'll add the thumb and make the scroll bar interactive. In this video, we're going to continue working on our custom scroll bar widget by adding the scroll bar's thumb. Inside the scroll bar class, we're going to add some more options. We're going to add a default color for the thumb and a default hover color for when the mouse is over the thumb. So right here inside of our self.options dictionary, we're going to do thumb_color, and I'm gonna just give it a hex color. All right. Then we're going to do thumb underscore hover color. And I'm also going to give that a hex color. So underneath self.orient here, we're going to create a couple more attributes. The first one is thumb size, which determines the default size of the thumb. So underneath here, we're just going to do self.thumb underscore size is equal to 30. Then we're going to create a fraction attribute, which determines the scroll percentage. So self.fraction is equal to 0. Next, we're going to set the starting drag position. So self.start underscore drag underscore position is equal to 0. And now we're going to set two Boolean attributes, one for scrollbar dragging and one for scrollbar hovering. So self.dragging is equal to false, and self.hovering is equal to false. So we need a method that's going to draw the scrollbar thumb each time its position changes. So we'll create a method named redraw and start the method off by deleting the thumb if one is already drawn. So underneath here, underneath our config method here, we're going to do define redraw self, and then we're going to go ahead and delete the thumb if one is already drawn. So self.delete and pass in thumb. Okay. So now we'll get the size of the scroll bar. So we'll do size equal to self.winfo underscore width, underscore height. And if self.orientation is equal to vertical, else we'll use self.winfo underscore width. Now we're going to calculate how far the thumb can move. So we'll do max underscore position is equal to max. We're going to pass in size minus self.thumb underscore size, and then we're going to pass in 1. Okay. And finally, we're going to get the thumb's current position. So we'll do position is equal to self.fraction times max underscore position. So the next thing we're going to do is actually draw the thumb, starting off by checking if the scroll bar is vertical. So we'll do if self.orient is equal to vertical. And our thumb is shaped like a rectangle, so we use self.create underscore rectangle. Now we have to pass in two XY coordinates, which determines the size of the rectangle. So the first XY coordinates is 0 and position. The second one is going to be self.winfo underscore width and position plus self.thumb underscore size. Now we're going to set the thumb's color with fill is equal to self.options. And we'll start off by setting it equal to the thumb hover color if self.hovering is true or self.dragging is true. Else, we'll just use the default thumb color. Okay. Now we're going to give it an outline. We'll make it transparent by passing in an empty string, and then we're going to tag it. So we'll set tags equal to thumb. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing for the horizontal scroll bar. So down here we'll just do else, and we can really just copy this right here and paste it inside of here. And so we're going to change the XY coordinates here. So for this, it'll actually be position then 0. And then we'll do position plus thumb underscore size. And then we'll do self.winfo underscore height. Okay. And then the fill options can stay the same, the outline stays the same, and then the thumb can stay the same. Or the tag for the thumb can stay the same. So the last thing we're going to do in this method is add two tag bindings to the thumb, one for when the mouse is over the thumb and one for when the mouse leaves the thumb. So down here we'll do self.tag underscore bind, pass in the tag here, which is thumb. We're going to do the enter event. And then the method is going to be self.on_thumb_hover. Just duplicate that. And instead of enter, we'll do leave. And instead of on thumb hover, we'll do on thumb leave. Okay, so now we have to create the two methods that the tag bindings reference. So we'll start with the on thumb hover method. So down here, we just do define on thumb hover, pass in self and event, set that equal to none. And we'll start off with self.hovering is equal to true. And then self.itemConfig. The item that we're changing is the thumb, so we'll pass in its tag there. And then we're changing its color, so fill is equal to self.options.get thumb hover color. So we're attempting to get the thumb hover color from the self.options dictionary, but if we don't get that for some reason, we're going to pass in a default hex color. Okay. Now we'll just do the same for on thumb leave. So define on thumb leave, self event is equal to none. We'll do self.hovering is equal to false. And then we'll do if, not self dragging, self.itemConfig, thumb. Fill is equal to self.options.get thumb_color, and then we're going to pass in a default hex color. Okay. Finally, we'll add a binding inside of the scrollbar class that causes the thumb to be drawn. So near the bottom here, we'll do self.bind, use the configure event, and then we'll do lambda e self.redraw. Alright, so now we can run our demo code to make sure everything's working correctly. Alright, so when you run the code, you should see your vertical and horizontal scroll bar from the last video. And you should see your thumbs here on both of them. And so what should happen here is whenever you move the mouse over the thumb, it should change colors. In my case, mine's just become a little bit darker. And then whenever you move the mouse off of it, it should revert. And so that should be working for both of your scroll bars here. Alright, so in the next video, we'll add code that allows us to move the thumb up and down like a standard scroll bar. Thank you for watching. In this video, we're going to continue working on our scroll bar by making the scroll bar's thumb draggable. In order to make the thumb draggable, we need to create a method called onDrag. So let's go down here and create the method. We'll do define onDrag self event. Next, we'll set self.dragging equal to true. So self.dragging is equal to true. Then we'll get the current mouse position. So we'll do drag_position is equal to event.y if self.orient is equal to vertical. Make sure you use two equal signs there. Else we use event.x. Okay. Now we'll get the size of the scroll bar's track. So size is equal to self.winfo_height if self.orient is equal to vertical. Else we're going to use self.winfo_width. The next thing we'll do is calculate the maximum distance the thumb can travel. So we'll do max_position is equal to max size minus self.thumb_size and then 1. Okay. Next, we'll calculate how far the mouse has moved since the last drag event. So we'll do delta is equal to drag_position minus self.start_drag_position. Okay. Then we have to calculate the new position of the thumb by converting the current scroll fraction into pixel position. So we'll start off with self.fraction times max_position. Then we'll be adding the mouse movement delta. So we'll just do plus delta. And then we have to clamp it between 0 and the max position to prevent overflow. So we go up here and do new underscore position is equal to max. Put these in parentheses. Max 0, comma, min. Put this in parentheses. Comma, max underscore position. Now we have to convert the thumb's new pixel position back into a fraction. So down here we do self dot fraction is equal to new underscore position divided by max underscore position. Finally, we'll redraw the thumb so its position is updated on the scroll bar while storing the current mouse position for use in the next drag event. So we'll do self.redraw and then self.start underscore drag underscore position is equal to drag underscore position. We want this method to run every time we left click and drag on the scroll bar, so we need to add a key binding inside of the scroll bar class. So we'll do self.bind v1-motion and then self.on underscore drag. Okay. Now if we run our demo code from the previous video, we should be able to click and drag the thumb up and down on both of our scroll bars here. So we can go up and down here, and then down here we can go left to right. Scroll bars tend to have a common feature where you can click on the track and the thumb will scroll to that position. So that's the next feature we're going to implement. To start things off, we're going to create an onClick method and set the drag and equal to true. So again, underneath our onDrag method, we do define onClick self event and then set self.dragging equal to true. Then we're going to get the position of the click. So click underscore position is equal to event.y if self.orient is equal to vertical, else use event.x. Okay. Next we have to get the size of the scroll bar. So we'll do size is equal to self.winfo underscore height if self.orient is equal to vertical, else we'll do self.winfo underscore width. Now we're going to calculate how far the thumb can move along the track. So we do max underscore position is equal to max size minus self.thumb underscore size 1. Then we want to calculate where to move the thumb to while centering it. So we do new underscore position is equal to max 0 min click underscore position minus self.thumb. Got a little bit of lag here, sorry. Oh, okay, there we go. Underscore size divided by 2 max underscore position. Okay. Next, we convert the new position to a fractional scroll percentage. So we do self.fraction is equal to new underscore position divided by max underscore position. Now we're going to redraw the thumb so that it's drawn in its new position on the track. So we'll do self.redraw. Then we're going to update the start drag position. So self.start underscore drag underscore position is equal to click underscore position. So we're done with the onClick method. Next we have to create an onRelease method to end the drag state and reset the thumb color. So underneath here we do define on underscore release self event is equal to none. We're going to set self.dragging equal to false, and then we'll do self.idle config thumb field is equal to self.options.get thumb underscore color hashtag. All right. Now the last thing we have to do is create bindings for both of these methods inside of the scrollbar's init function. So back up here, we'll do self.bind button-1 self.onClick and then self.bind button release -1 self.on_release. So now if you're in the code, you should be able to click directly on the track and the thumb will automatically move to that position there. So this is the vertical scroll bar here. Now for the horizontal scroll bar, you should be seeing the same thing here. All right. So in the next video, we're going to make it where the scroll bar can actually scroll content that is inside of other widgets. Thank you for watching. In this video, we're going to finish our custom scroll bar so that we can use it to scroll content that's inside of other widgets. When linking a scroll bar to a widget, we have to set the scroll bar's command equal to either the widget's X view or its Y view, depending on if the scroll bar is horizontal or vertical. So the first thing we're going to do is add command as a parameter inside of the scroll bar's init. So here before our keyword arguments, we'll just do command and then we'll give it a default value of none. Then we'll store the command parameter as an attribute. So down here underneath self.hovering, we'll just do self.command is equal to command. Next, we have to update the onDrag and onClick methods to call the command. We'll call the command right after we call the redraw method. So let's go down to our onDrag method right here. And so right here before our redraw, we'll do if self.command self.command move to self.fraction. Now we have to do the same thing for the onClick method. So right here, right before the self.redraw, we'll do if self.command pass in move to and then self.fraction. The last thing the scroll bar is missing is a set method. We'll have to pass this method into the widget we want to use the scroll bar on. So we're going to go down here and do define set pass in self. We're also going to need the first and last fractional scroll position value, so we have to make them parameters. So we'll do first and then last. Now we have to get the size of the scroll bar. So we'll do size equal to self.winfo_height. If self.orientation is equal to vertical, else self.winfo_width. Then we're going to store the current scroll position. So we do self.fraction is equal to float first. Okay, so we're going to be turning that first parameter here into a float. Next, we're going to calculate how big the thumb should be. So we'll do self.thumb_size equal to max. We'll do float. We have to convert that last parameter into a float also. Minus float first. Then we'll multiply that by size. And then for our second parameter, we'll do 20. Finally, we're going to redraw the scroll bar. So we do self.redraw. So now that the scroll bar is complete, we're going to test it by adding it to a list box. So we're going to have to change our demo code up a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of the horizontal scroll bar, which is the SB1 here. So we'll just take all of this and delete it. Then we're going to create a list box. So up here underneath our root, we'll do list box equal to list box, pass in root, and then we're going to display it with pack, set its side equal to left, fill equal to both, and then expand equal to 1. And so now we're going to set the scroll bar's command equal to the list box's Y view. So we'll do command is equal to listbox.yView. Next, we're going to set the listbox's yScroll command to the scrollbar set method. So underneath our scrollbar here, we'll do listbox.config yScroll command is equal to sb.set. And finally, we're going to populate the list box with text. So underneath here, we'll do for I in range 100. Listbox.insert. We're going to insert all this text at the very end. And then we'll do format I +1 dash. And then here we'll just do a sentence here. So I'm gonna do this is a long line of text to test horizontal scrolling. Okay. And so now let's run it and make sure everything's good. So as you can see, we have our list box here, and then we have our vertical scroll bar right here. So if I click and drag this, as you can see, the content inside of the list box is actually scrolling. And it should also scroll whenever you just click anywhere on the track also. So now we're going to test horizontal scrolling. So first we're going to remove the list box's side option here. So we'll get rid of this. Then we're going to set the scroll bar's orientation to horizontal. So we'll do orientation is equal to horizontal. And we're going to change its command to the listbox's X view. So instead of listbox.yView, we'll do listbox.xView. Next down here, we're going to set its fill equal to X instead of Y. And then we're going to remove the side option right here. Okay. Finally, we're going to set the listbox's xScroll command to the scrollbar set method. So instead of yScroll command, we'll do xScroll command. Okay. So now if we run the code, you should have your scroll bar down here. And so it's not scrolling right now, but we can fix that by simply decreasing the width of the root window here. So now we can scroll back and forth here. And you should be able to click on the track also, and it should also scroll. Okay, and that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you want the complete version of the scroll bar, you can get it from my free TK Widgets repo. I also have a more advanced version with animations and hover effects available on my Gumroad. Links to both are in the description. Thank you for watching.